What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about how traveling constantly, which is what I've been doing, is very different from having a 2-week vacation. And the main ways it's different that you might not expect, and how to kind of supplement that so you don't burn yourself out, because it is taxing. I'm currently here in Little India, Singapore, and we're at this crowded food market. So the first big thing is, when you're constantly traveling, it takes a lot more time than you think to constantly be planning and iterating on your next week or next 2 weeks, because you don't have accommodations and transportation and all this stuff booked. Oh, this place is pretty cool. Look at all these decorations. Anyhow, most people underestimate what it's like to travel so much. They just think it's this glamorous thing where you're just gallivanting around the world. But especially when you're in new, unfamiliar countries where things are a lot different or a lot more chaotic and less streamlined, like a first world country, you may just have to spend 5-10 hours per week planning and booking accommodations, flights, hotels, how you're going to transport. Because every country, there's so many unknowns and differences that what you've known in the past places you travel may not apply. For example, when I went to Bali, turns out you either rent a scooter yourself to drive and you have to learn how, or you go ahead and you take Grab, which is their version of Uber, or Gojek, which is their cheaper version, more local version, and you have to find all these things out. And then you have someone pick you up on a bike, which is cheaper than a car, and everyone's using these mopeds there. So that's one of many things that, like, once you land in off the airplane, like, you just don't know, like, how do I even get to my hotel? Okay, how do I get food? Where's the right food? All these things take time and planning and stress. So it is doable. I've been able to do it sustainably. I did it in the US for like over 2 years. I traveled for about 2.5 years, road trip style, across the US. And that was a lot, even though it was still within the same country. So a lot of things I got the hang of. Even though there were some differences from state to state, it was still within that same country, and yet it was still taxing. Now imagine doing that across the whole world. That's going to be even more taxing, because each country can be so different in how it comes across. Wow, look at this car. I think it might be a Tesla. Yep, that's a Tesla right there. And so, what can you do about this? Well, sometimes it's good to just give yourself a break. This is my first day in Singapore. I flew in this morning from Bali. It took about I woke up at 7, drove to the airport by 8. Flight landed at like 1:30. Then it was like an hour metro, which I had to figure out. I didn't know the best way to get into a city. And then all this stuff. Point is, I spent about like 3-4 hours exploring. Not even 4, maybe like 3 hours, maybe even 2 hours. I haven't been keeping track of time, but the point is, I'm already tired despite not like squeezing the juice out of it today. I do have the energy technically to keep going the rest of the day, but I'd be exhausted for tomorrow. Now I would do that if it was a 2-week vacation and you just want to see the most that you can of Singapore. But if you're traveling all the time, you get a different feel for things. And so I think most people are more so one vacation per year travelers. So when I posted something on Instagram where I was like saying how I accidentally arrived in Korea after midnight and the trains were shut down, some of the comments were very upset, saying, oh, you should have done your research and planned ahead and learned that. Well, the thing is, if it's that your one vacation per year, you have the whole year to plan and look forward to it and do your research on every little bit. But if you're constantly bouncing across countries, whether that's once per week or once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks, it's a lot. It's almost like a part-time or full-time job. So basically, be kinder to yourself and be kinder to others, and account for the time, the extra time it takes, and put it into your resource energy allocation. This video and topic was brought up because I've had this conversation with other fellow nomadic travelers, and while some parts can be fun, engaging, and glamorous, other parts can be a lot of energy and work, especially if you're budget traveling. I just now walked about 30 minutes back and forth to Little Italy from where I'm staying. I could have taken a Grab, but it would have cost me a lot. And it was better for my health to walk anyways. But it was very hot in the sun. So when you're budget traveling there, that's another thing. You gotta give and take. Ideally, you have more money so you can just spend it, but that doesn't always happen. So hopefully you found this video valuable. I would say the last big tip I wanna give you before I end this is, if you do decide to do the whole constantly traveling thing, start with some easy countries and then throw in a more difficult country in there. I think that way you'll ease into it versus just like going too hard off the bat, which is a mistake I made.